All right, thank you everyone for coming. Yeah, taking your time in the middle of your week and your day to come join our webinar on the wildfire mitigation for homeowners. Before we start, let's just all take a few deep breaths because I know we all just came from probably work or errands, restless nights. So let's just all just take 3 deep breaths, just in with your nose, out with your mouth. Okay, 2 more times. One more time. All right, because I know I need it. I don't know about you, but it's good to remind ourselves, just, take a deep breath, get some oxygen into our head, into our brain, into our lungs. So um, thank you again for coming. And so if you can put in the chat who you are, and so that way we can get a general demographic of our audience, that if you're a homeowner, or if you are an architect, a designer, um, and also what you are hoping to get out of this webinar. And in this webinar, Rego and Serge, they will be sharing about certain things that they have just learned and they have implemented regarding uh, rooftop fire sprinklers. After this last fire, Rego and I, we were both architects in Los Angeles area, and Serge is a general contractor. And all of us have around 18 to 20 plus years of experience designing and building homes around here. And we just tried to figure out, some of the houses that did not get burned, what did they do? What did the homeowners do to prevent their house from getting affected by this past fire? Um, and we don't have all the answers, but we're on the track of just exploring and trying to understand, what we can do to safeguard our house to do more things than just the basic building code is telling us to do. And so let me give the mic to Reiko. Oh, hold on. So this is our information. If you guys want to grab a screenshot, this is Reiko, the architect. She's near uh, Rancho Palos Verdes area. Serge's home just missed. It was very close to the Kenneth fire. Thank goodness it did not get burned. And I am near Pasadena and Arcadia area. Um, so now let me give the microphone to Reiko, and so she can share with you the research and the case study that she has been looking at.
Yeah, so just a little bit more about, what we're doing. We're basically doing a monthly series of webinars based on fire hardening of homes, just because of this recent, events that's happening around our, neighborhood, our homes. And I guess like what Christina brought up, a lot of the code is geared towards, you know, um, fire hardening in terms of the class A roof and the not doing any events and things like that. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of the houses that got burned were already using these kinds of technologies, and so the code is a little bit behind in terms of protecting our homes from wildfire. And so that's why we were just kind of curious about, what more can we do in order to protect our homes? Because it's something that I think like homeowners are really, really interested in. The other thing too is that us architects, the way we are, we provide the, blueprints and we help the homeowners, you know, I guess, create their dream home. And in order to do that, we often specify materials that are tried and tested, that has an ICC report and that has, a lot of, you know, testing. And so that's why I think that a lot of times these things like the rooftop fire sprinkler system, that's kind of a new technology, is hard for us architects to swallow, right? Like we don't really want to specify something on our buildings that really doesn't have a whole lot of track record or a lot of ICC reports and testing. And so, that's why we're doing this kind of webinar, because we want to kind of take like a curious look into this technology, right? Christina?
Sounds good. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
just yeah. So we are going to be sharing. You can go ahead and start the information because we have noticed in the news of some of the homeowners that they just thought forward. You know, they put things on their house to prevent this wildfire. Um, and so here, why don't Rebecca just go ahead and start?
Yeah, and with this webinar today, we're just going to talk a little bit about the rooftop fire sprinkler systems and what we found with the system. But we're not going to talk about specific manufacturers because we don't really want to endorse any kind of specific product. Again, like we're just here because we're curious architects, and we were interested in this product, as you guys are. So here is the let's see. So with our research, we did find this one report that was done by University of Minnesota, and this was back in 2008. And so the rooftop fire sprinkler system is actually a pretty, popular thing that's used in places like Canada and the Midwest. And what they found is that of the threatened structures in the 2008 fire, that survived, 72% had working fire sprinklers. And then so here's this table over here. What this table says is that here is a column for houses that have sprinklers. This is a column that has houses that didn't have sprinklers. And of the structures, the houses that survived, 46 of them had working fire sprinklers, and 18 had no sprinklers. And then of the structures that was lost, one house had, a working fire sprinkler, but they have conflicting information from firemen on the field that that house may or may not have had a working fire sprinkler. And then of the houses that were lost, 30 of them, did not have a working fire sprinkler. So altogether, there were like about 104 or so houses that was involved. So here's like a little video that I did just to illustrate what this report kind of means. So you have this community with like about 100 or so, houses. And of the 100 or so houses, some of them had working fire sprinklers. Some of them had, not working fire sprinklers, or they didn't have any fire sprinklers. And then here is the fire that's approaching. And so of the, houses so all of these houses, were surrounded by fire, got affected by fire, and the houses that got burnt were the ones that didn't have fire sprinklers. Only one house, had, may or may not have had, a working fire sprinkler, and then it perished. So this study is like, pretty clear that, I guess fire sprinklers did work, for this community. And I guess the type of fire that they had was really wind driven. And also, this community was surrounded by lots of trees, lots of evergreen trees, which is, high fuel, high burning type of, material. So it's saying that, I guess, like this rooftop fire sprinkler system can be effective for any kind of wildfire. And basically, the whole idea is that, I guess like if something is wet, it just would not burn. So that's the whole idea. And the Chaparral Institute also did another study. And here they talked about how FEMA was giving out pre-disaster grants, mitigation grant. And basically homeowners who applied for the FEMA grant, they were given money so that they can install wildfire sprinkler systems because some of these wildfire sprinkler systems, if you go with like a company like Frontline or any of these other companies, they can be up to $75,000, which is it is a big chunk of money. So this is pretty interesting. I just want to also talk about some of the parts of the fire sprinkler system. So let's say this is your house. So the basic idea is that you have a fire sprinkler on your roof, and it's something that shoots out water. And it could be like, any kind of fire sprinkler system. It can be like the Rainbird type that like rotates. It can just be a spigot. A lot of people would put it on their roof, and then they will also put it on their perimeter wall, like on their fence or something like that. And then the sprinklers would be connected to a pipe that's usually a metal pipe of around like 3/4 of an inch or so. And then it's connected to a pump. And the pump is maybe like a fireman's pump or something like that. And so that's basically the big, huge idea of this. Now, there's a lot of things that happen with a wildfire. Electricity could be cut out, or the water, might be low. So a lot of people would also connect the fireman's pump to a generator. And the generator would be run by a propane tank. So like a 50-gallon propane tank can run the generator for about 24 hours. And then the fireman's pump is often connected to another water source, like the pool, or also like a rain barrel. So this is basically the big idea of how this system might work. And so, I think that it's advisable to go with a company that's very sophisticated, that can, do this system for you, that can monitor your house and things like that. But, you could also just, do it yourself too. So here is like a picture of like the pool and the pump and the various hoses that's coming out. And this was kind of like our inspiration image, because after the Pacific Palisades, this home survived because it had the fire sprinkler system, and you can see that there is this like green patch around the house. And so that was the arc of where the water hit, and the fire did not cross that boundary. And this guy pretty much like rigged it, on his own house. He just put like, one of those Rainbird type things, rooftop fire sprinkler on his roof, a long time ago, after this house almost got burnt down like 4 or 5 years ago, and so he was prepared this time. And so he did this, and then he said that the crazy thing is that he went back to his house and he saw that down from this house, about like 14 houses below him also survived. So his house pretty much kind of like, stopped the fire from, approaching the other houses in his community. So it is definitely, something that I guess like, neighbors should get together and inform each other. Also, we do not want to encourage you to be this guy. So we do not want you in an event of a fire. We do not want you to be on the roof trying to like, water down your house or putting up, fire sprinklers or anything like that. Definitely the whole idea when there is a wildfire is to evacuate. So preparedness is key. We want you guys to think ahead so that you don't have to be this guy. And so also, I just wanted to share this one case study. My husband's best friend, who lives in Santa Rosa, actually installed rooftop fire sprinklers. And this was 8 years ago. And this was after the Santa Rosa fire. And really, like when he started doing this, the architect and me really thought that he was, some kind of crazy person who might install like bunkers in his backyard or something. Because, like, I just thought like he was like overly prepared or, overly thinking. Nobody is doing anything like this, right? But then look at us now, right? Like 10 years down the road, the fire code has not changed even a little bit. And like, we have been getting, wildfires every single year, right? So, I mean, so he is the genius, I guess, like who is like prepared. Now we are like looking at his like technology. So here, like, he's like, he's just a regular Joe. He's not an architect. He's not like a contractor. He went to Frontline. They told him that it was going to cost him like $50,000, like, 8 years ago, right? And he was just like, oh no, I can't do that. So that's why he just kind of did it himself. And so here you can see like, the fire sprinklers that he put on his roof. And these are copper tubing. That's like 3/4 of an inch. He wanted me to tell you guys that it's 3/4 of an inch because I guess that's important. And then he also he put these barrels all throughout his yard. So basically, these are rain barrels that have, water in it. And the idea is that if the fire comes, this rain barrel will melt and then put out the fire. And so, like, containing the fire. The first time the Santa Rosa fire came to his property, he had this big, huge basketball hoop with like the water tank on the base. And then that water tank on the base melted because it was, made of plastic. And then there was an arc around the basketball hoop where, the grass did not burn. And so that's where he got this idea that like he was going to put this all around his yard and his perimeter. So it's just interesting what, all these, what people are doing. So yeah, this is unsightly, but like it gets the idea across. Like I think, what he's trying to do. And so here's his pool, and, he's going to connect the fireman's pump to his pool for the, I guess the fire sprinkler. And so we have a guest speaker, Serge, who is a contractor in the area. And he was actually one of the smart people who went ahead and installed one of these like rooftop fire sprinklers on his own home. And we can now see, like what he went through, like what his inspirations were. And so, yeah.
All right, Serge, the mic is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Serg Lichwa. I am general contractor. My company name is Luxus Construction. First, I would like to thank you, architect Reiko and Christina, for inviting me to this meeting. And I would like to say a few words about the fire sprinklers on the roof. In 2016, I started thinking about prevention and protection against the fire. The 2007 Canyon fire in Malibu and 2007 Santiago fire in Orange County was in my memory. So there are standard fire prevention rules required by building code and more restricted required by when you're located in very high fire zone. Reiko already mentioned about them. Let me just share with you this screen here. Sure. So for architect in the fire zone, when you go through the plan check, there is this information. I just generally want to mention Class A roof, special vents, exterior wall made of non-combustion material or made of ignition-resistant material. Roof wooden eaves should be enclosure with non-combustion material. The same goes to the porch. Windows should be multi-pane glaze. Doors should be minimum 20-minute rated. Decking, when you have a deck next to your house, should be made of non-combustion material and ignition resistant material. Also, that include trellis, patios, gazebos. I would like to call all the above passive measure. And back then I want to be proactive. I wanted to go further than these passive requirements. So one day, back then in 2015, I was thinking what else I could do to stop wildfire and save the house. One day I was driving through Los Angeles and I saw a long-range sprinkler working next to the freeway, shooting water long distance. I found a device that I would like to use that would work with my idea of being proactive, protection. In 2016, I came with the idea of installing the sprinklers on the roof. I researched all kinds of sprinklers and I found one I really like it. For this particular house in mountains surrounded with a lot of bushes, I choose the brass long-range sprinkler. This is how it looked like. This is heavy-duty brass nut and top, stainless steel, spring and pin, is a long-lasting, dependable, and is made for commercial and agricultural use. This how it looked like when it's shooting the water, and commercial agricultural use. This picture is showing commercial agricultural use. My goal was to make it very simple and reliable. So I tee off the house main water line and I create separate system with 2 zones. Here is the diagram of connection. Main water coming to the house. Before main water gets to the shut-off valve of the house, this is the valve, I tee off and I went to the zone 1 and zone 2 of the fire sprinklers on the roof. So main water can, when those in normal situation, these 2 valves are closed, this one is open and main water goes to the house. Now when you have a fire, you should close this one and open those 2 and they will work independently. I didn't take the water after this valve and after water pressure regulator, just before. So I think this is very important. Then the main water line is 1 inch. This line is 1 inch going to this valves. Then after the valves goes 1 inch and reduced to 3/4. And those sprinklers are 3/4. You can buy also 1/2 inch sprinklers on the market, but I would recommend 3/4. And this is how it looked like in practice. I may be going too much to the technical, but this is main water, tee off. This is valve for the first zone. This is valve for the second zone. For the sprinklers, this goes inside and goes to the sprinklers. This is main valve for the house water goes this way and to the house. So in order to achieve the best water pressure, I tee off water line of the main water supply line going to the house before house water pressure regulator. That way the system is completely separate and independent. This is how I lay out the sprinklers. So I did little picture. The red stars showing the sprinklers on the roof, and the green stars showing the garden hose bib location. In 2016, I took advantage of a roofing situation that was perfect time to install the sprinklers. At the same time, I didn't want to compromise design of the house, and I didn't want sprinklers to be visible from outside of the house, so I placed them hidden behind the roof pony walls. Here is the picture. So these are the sprinklers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I will show you a couple more pictures how this looks like. 1, here is the sprinkler, here is the sprinkler, here is the sprinkler, here is 1, and here is 1. I'm just gonna go back quickly and just I couldn't get to this area because of the layout and structural framing of the house, but these sprinklers have a long range, so these two will cover that area basically. Here is a little closer view of the sprinkler, and as you can see, it's hidden behind the pony wall, so you won't see it from standing outside the house and looking up to the roof. With this system, there are two options. If there is a time and you can see the fire is coming, you can open the water ahead of time and make a roof and surrounding area wet enough to stop the fire. This is something what Reiko mentioned already. The second option is if there is no time, if there is an evacuation order, then you just open the water and leave the property and sprinklers will do the job. Here I want to show you. The range of these sprinklers is from 30 feet to 59 feet radius. It's all depending on setting, size of the nozzles, water flow, and pressure. And here is a little table showing you flow, radius, the range, and pressure of the water. Those factors are important. There is different kind of nozzles. You can change them if you want longer range or smaller range. All depends on your water flow, size of the pipes, all those factors. The system should be tested every few months, minimum one time a year. And why brass sprinklers? In my opinion, brass sprinklers will last longer comparing to the plastic ones. Plastic has tendency to crumble when exposed to the weather, sun, hot temperature during the day, or low temperature during the night time. Plastic will melt during the high temperature during the fire. Brass will sustain. So that's, in my opinion, the best option. And also want to refer to what Reiko said, 3/4 copper line and brass sprinklers. I think is the best. I think that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge, for sharing. That was very, very insightful. And it's interesting to see how you came up with that. That was awesome. You can just hide the piping inside a roof during your roof repair. So right now, we are open for question and answer. So we have quite a bit of time. So if you have any questions, you can just open your mic and ask, and we'll do our best to provide you with answers. We don't have all the answers because we're all just exploring and trying to figure out what techniques is doable. And that's not gonna, oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so right now it's question and answer time. So feel free to, if you have a question, either raise your hand or just open your mic. And we'll do our best to answer the questions because we are all just exploring and trying to understand different methods. Serge will probably have most of the answers. And so, yeah, let's see. Okay, so right now we have a question from Neil. Can you share the brass sprinkler type or web link that you recommended? And could that also be used in the yard?
Yeah, yes, that can be used in the yard. I can share again the last image. The thing is, I don't want to do any advertising for any company here. But this is just example. This particular one is RK30. That's what I choose. They can be used in the yard. You can also use different. You have to do your own research on that. You can use the different sprinklers. Also, depending on how close your neighbors are, because if you put them on the yard and they're gonna shoot to your neighbor house 50 feet away, then maybe he's not gonna be happy when you test them once a year and shoot the water to his house. Maybe he's gonna be happy when the fire come and then you open them and the water will shoot to your house and his house and save his house. But that's something you have to calculate. Also, is related to your water pressure and water flow, how far they can shoot.
Thank you, Serge. Next question. In a statistic that Reiko shared in the beginning, the percentage of surviving homes that had a working sprinkler system, was that normal in terrace sprinklers or rooftop sprinklers?
Oh, I know. That's funny because I think when I shared this report with Christina, that was exactly the same question that she had because she was like, sprinklers, is that like the interior sprinklers or like the rooftop sprinklers? But so yeah, the whole report is on the rooftop sprinkler system and the effectiveness of rooftop sprinkler system. And so that's why I also did that video. I'm not sure if you caught that of, like the little houses in the community with like the rooftop fire sprinkler system. So the effectiveness of the rooftop fire sprinklers are, like really, really high. Only like, one house got burnt down that had like a rooftop fire sprinkler system. And the firemen were saying that, it may not have been turned on. So the other issue with the report that they were talking about was, I guess, they were also saying that another big issue with the rooftop fire sprinkler system is maintenance. So you have to also make sure that the rooftop fire sprinkler systems are maintained. That you also have to turn it on before you leave. Things like that. A lot of people turn on the fire sprinkler system like 2 to 10 hours before the fire actually, hits your house. So if you know that there is a fire in your area, turn it on, and leave it running. Make sure everything is like soaked. The other thing that the report talks about is defensible space. So I know Laura is here too. Hi, Laura. I know you're in the car. And, I would love if you could like speak a little bit. She's a landscape architect. And so defensible space is also key to, protecting your home. And together with the fire sprinkler system and defensible space, you can strengthen, your fire mitigation. Laura, do you want to speak a little bit about?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yes, I am driving. We have been putting our heads together with architects and contractors, and it just keeps coming across that, the most impactful thing you can do to defend your house is to maintain your property. If the fire is getting close to your house, it might already be too late, no matter how many sprinklers you put on top of it or inside of it. If there's going to be really dead wooded areas, or if you have a palm tree that's right next to your house that's very fibrous and dry, if you have a lot of dead plant material fuels that haven't been cleaned out in years that's really built up, that is very, very hard to stop with the wind, because the fire moves so fast and it chews through that. And then on those high wind days, it blows those embers way far ahead, blocks ahead. So the best thing you can do proactively, that is an easy fix and quick things to do. It does not require typically, a lot of city permitting or a huge investment, is to get your trees trimmed, is to replace any old rotting wood fences. If you have a wood deck, if your home is older and you have an older wood deck that is dry and splintered, to have that removed and replaced with an engineered wood. Things like that to really create, like I was talking about, that defensible perimeter. You want to make sure all the fire people can get easily to your property. If it's on a slope, they have a place where they can go in your backyard or front yard or side yard, stand on that slope and make a line, make a perimeter, so that if the fire is approaching your house, they have that clear space to work and really, commit to standing there for 5 or 10 minutes and soaking everything down and getting to those areas they need to get to without, them falling down the slope or them injuring themselves or taking unnecessary risk.
Mm-hmm.
What I got.
So Laura is also doing seminars on I guess like defensible space and fire mitigation. So you could, if you're interested, you could contact her later about, I guess, like her upcoming seminar. And I attended her last.
Are the Stephanies here online as well? Stephanie Harris or Stephanie O? Are you dialed in?
You're one of the Stephanie. You know what?
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry. Yes, I'm here. I apologize. This is Stephanie Harris.
Stephanie, will you give like a 3-minute little talk about plant materials and some good choices and some things to maybe think about removing?
Yes. So, and I will say, in case I forget later at the outset, that Los Angeles County Fuel Modification Department, if you just Google Los Angeles County Fuel Modification, they have a lot of resources on their website, and they have a document, I think it's called Planting Guidelines or Planting Design Guidelines, and there's some lists there of plants that are appropriate for the different zones. So, for example, the sort of danger zone, the most impactful zone that you can clean up the plant material is the sort of 30-foot envelope around your house. So anything from your combustible structure to 30 feet away. So they have lists of plants appropriate for that zone, but those tend to include the non-woody types of plants. So things like succulents, lower plants. What you want to avoid is plant ladders. You don't want tall plants underneath trees where you can kind of create these ladders for embers to catch and for the planting to catch on fire. So succulent types of plants that retain moisture. And of course, it's always important to keep those things irrigated also. And then once you get from 30 feet away from your house to, 100 feet away, then you have a little bit more freedom. You can put, maybe some of your bigger trees, things like that. But you still want to be mindful of not creating those ladders. So avoiding things like double hedges. For example, if you have a hedge, or if your neighbor has a hedge, maybe you don't need a hedge also right next to it, things like that. So, thanks, Lako, for putting that link up in the chat. So yeah, that's my sort of quick my quick explanation on the planting.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Can you also, somebody asked for Laura's contact. Can you guys put down your contact, please?
Sure, I'll type my
Serge,
email in the chat here.
can you also put down your contacts too in the chat, Serge? In case
Oh,
people
yes.
wanna, ask you some more in-depth question about your installation methods and things like that. Does anybody else who might be like a homeowner have any comments to share or anything like that? Any feelings about what's going on?
I'll just share my story briefly. I'm in Sierra Madre, and the fire came to my neighbor's yard, and our house was connected by brush. It would have burned. We called 911, and there was no answer. We called the police directly. There was no answer. Fortunately, the fire trucks were in sight, and we were able to go get them. But the only reason, yeah, so the takeaway for me is in these severe situations, the fire department may not come. So I think it's very important to do what you can as a homeowner.
Yeah. I think another topic that I think is kind of interesting is fire insurance. And so I did ask, my husband's best friend about, fire insurance and whether or not doing these fire sprinkler system had helped him get a better policy or helped him get insured. Because, as it is right now, even if you weren't affected by the fire, you may not have fire insurance. Like I'm in the fire zone and we were not affected. We're like very far from the fire, but last year, our insurance doubled, right, for no reason whatsoever. And my husband looked for fire insurance and we could not find anything. Nobody was going to insure us. So that's our, as homeowners, our other obstacle that we're facing. And so I guess as it is, fire sprinkler systems are still pretty new. So it doesn't seem like, installing fire sprinkler systems will help you get like a better insurance or anything like that. But there are things, I did talk to some like concrete installers, and they did say that, if you build your home with more fireproof materials that's been tried and tested, like concrete, then that would, they've seen that like fire insurance, sometimes, the policy goes down or they will insure you or something like that. So that, we are going to talk about, things like that, some other measures in our upcoming webinar series, just as like a heads up. So anyway. Christina, you're muted.
Sorry, technically handicapped today. So this is our tentative next webinar, which will be exploring concrete systems. As Riego has just mentioned, just different types of way of using concrete to fortify our home. So I have a friend whose house is built with CME walls, and technically the whole house burned down except for the CME walls, and she just hated the walls while she was living there. So we're just gonna look into different ways to use concrete to possibly, improve the house against fire. And we are hoping to do, every first Wednesday of the month at the same time. So we'll keep you guys posted on the next potential webinar, the date and the time. This is the next topic that we are looking into.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more questions, concerns?
Hi, this is Laura, the landscape architect again. I just wanted to reiterate the message that we have really started to pick up on this year, and we're trying to drive home, is that on these, for homeowners, I know a lot of us are homeowners ourselves, it really comes down to us taking the initiative and responsibility and investment to keep our homes and our, peer pressure our neighbors as nicely as we can and put those complaints into the city as nicely as we can to really galvanize people to get the information and the knowledge out there and move forward, because all of our properties are connected and touching. And we, the more that the little baby steps we can take and work together are going to have a larger impact on keeping our community safe overall. So.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that, like, if you guys were interested in this topic enough to come to this webinar, next time Stephanie or Laura and Stephanie are, doing a seminar, ask your neighbors to, come with you to the, seminar. I brought my kids to their seminar and they had cookies for my kids. So my kids were very happy. And, like I said, Christina and I are doing this webinar monthly. So, ask your friends to, come with you, your neighbors. So don't be shy. It's a community effort, to bring awareness. So, yeah. Yeah. And,
I guess that's a wrap. If there's no more questions, you guys can always reach us with our emails, or just the email that you got when you registered. You can reach us to contact us if you have any questions. So that's it, right?
yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.